You had a week off from a game. You watched A&M play Alabama. What were your thoughts about the A&M offense? Any different than the offense you saw last year?
No, they're the same thing. They do the same thing that they've always done. They're not going to change anything. And, what was watching that game, that's supposed to be the number one defense in the country he's going against right there, and they put up 600 yards on him. So, I've got the worst job in football this week. That's just the way it is. So we got to get ready and go down and see what we can do and play the game.
When we talked to you a year ago as you were getting ready to play A&M, you talked about Johnny Manziel and said he's a mobile quarterback, but he wasn't really Johnny football yet. That whole mystique hadn't been created. What are the differences you see in him specifically compared to a year ago when he came into Ford Stadium?
Well, I think the thing he's done is he's improved in his passing ability from where he was when we saw him last year at this time. I think he's a real quality quarterback, 70% completion thrower. He's got all the throws in him. He'll break you down with his feet, but he's also can sit in the pocket and deliver the football. So that was something I didn't know if he could do last year. I think he got better as the year went through the offseason. He's more accurate passer.
Who impersonates him in practice for you, and what's the biggest thing you're asking your scout quarterback to do this week?
Well, we're just asking him, hey, when the coverage is there, don't try to force it, take the ball and take off, and do whatever you do. I mean, you don't have Johnny Manziel on your scout team, obviously, and he's just going to give us the best look he can give us and run around, and, you got to emphasize stay in coverage until you cross the line of scrimmage, and then try to go tackle him. So we've kind of made that scout team quarterback live. He's going to have a tough week. He'll be sore by Friday, and it's just one of those things you're not going to duplicate in practice. And I think the key to this thing is don't try to change what you do. Do what you do and try to minimize how Manziel can hurt you and see what happens when the game's over.
A lot of teams are going to more and more mobile quarterbacks. But in the case of Manziel, is it his ability to improvise? Is that bigger than even his quickness and speed?
I think so. He's just got an uncanny ability. I've been coaching 36 years, and I've never seen a quarterback like that. The thing he does is he's so accurate, and he throws from really weird body contortions and throws with accuracy, and that's the thing that he can hurt you with. Obviously, last year, a couple times we had him. Taylor Reed, he came off Taylor Reed one time, threw a touchdown. He's just one of those rare guys that you don't see, and you'll probably never see another one like him.
If he weren't enough of a headache, you got Mike Evans, their wide receiver, who had a pretty good game last year here at Ford Stadium, but against Alabama he goes 7 for 279. Have you ever seen a receiver put up numbers like that?
The thing about him is he's a great athlete, a basketball kid. He's a big physical receiver. He just went and got the ball. To me, he was the guy that took that game over early in that game, and then he showed up again late in the game. When Alabama had a lead and they had to come back and try to win the ball game. And he's just one of those kids that they're going to go to win the game, or they're going to go to get the game under control. He's just big, strong, physical, can run, catches the ball well. There's not a lot of him around in college football. There's just not a lot of guys like him.
How do you impersonate him in practice? Are you borrowing basketball players from Larry Brown?
I wish. I don't think Larry's going to send any over, but no, you don't. You ain't got those kind of kids on the scout team, and you just got to deal with it. And, we'll see how it all unfolds.
Whenever you guys are playing a team that has big receivers, coaches and players will talk about using the right technique. Can you explain a little bit about how that works? Because using the right footwork and hand placement and all that doesn't make your guys bigger. What kind of technique can you use to try to compensate for that size advantage?
Well, you got to look at the receiver and study what he does well. I spent about a half hour with Acker yesterday, and the kid, the one thing you don't want to do against a big, tall receiver is let him get his hands on you and create separation. So you got to be tight in your technique. You got to be tight in your footwork. You never want to get in a bad body position on him where he can get his hand and push you off and create that separation. And that's the thing he does really well. And being a 6'5" kid, once he gets that separation, he's got a great ability to go get the ball. And so you got to stay tight on his hip. And if he beats you over the top, and you got to be in good position.
They got a little different personnel in their running game. They lost a couple of guys from last year. Now they got, I think his name is Molina at running back, number 1. What's he like as a runner? What does he look like, and what are the challenges he's going to present for your defense?
He's a strong kid, not real tall. Runs through a lot of tackles. I think he's a really quality back. They got that number 5. I think he was the kid that transferred from Oklahoma. Then number 21. So they got a stable of 3 really quality running backs. And You know, even a little more this year than I think in the past. Kevin's trying to run the ball and establish his run game to set up his pass. And they're a little more balanced than they've been in the past, you know, run pass. So, yeah, all three of those backs are good. Molina, he's kind of the guy because he's experienced, but you can put any of those three and they don't have any drop-off.
Their offensive line lost a couple of guys to the NFL. Luke Jokel was, the second or third pick overall. Their center's gone. So they moved Jake Matthews over from the right side to the left. Do you see any change or drop-off in that offensive line this year from last?
I don't think so. I think they've got better. Matter of fact, you know, the two Matthews kids in there are really quality offensive linemen. There's that 51 that played for him last year at guard. Big, strong, physical kids. They'll be the best offensive line we face all this whole season. They're athletic, big kids, and they're strong, physical, and they do what they ask them to do. I mean, they can pass block, and then they can block that zone play, and they're just good football players.
Jason Phillips coached with Coach Sumlin at UH. Do you talk to him at all about Coach Sumlin's tendencies, or do you feel like we know what they're going to do, it's just a matter of stopping it?
Yeah, you know, Jason helps in that regard because I can run things by him if I get questions on what they're doing. But, you know, we've played against him since he was at Houston, and he's not changing what he's doing. He just got better at it. And, you know, it's one of those things, you know what they're going to do. You just got to stop it. And it's just one of those games. It's a great football team we're playing, and I look forward to the opportunity. I think it's an opportunity for us maybe to make a statement.
Coach Jones was talking about the crowd and the noise and the environment that you're going to face down there. It's supposed to be one of the loudest stadiums in the country. Obviously, that can impact an offense and the way they communicate. How will that impact the communication for your defense, or will it?
I don't think it will. I mean, we play in front of a lot of crowds before with this. We're all signal-type defense. Everybody gets the signals. There's no verbal communication with it. There shouldn't be any problems with it. In fact, I like our kids that play in front of big crowds. I think they get fired up, and yeah, that's what college football is all about. It's a big stage, big environment, noisy. That's what you signed up for.